Hey guys, Technometry with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the iPhone SE 2020 edition with the iPhone 7 Plus in a head-to-head comparison, whether you're upgrading from one to another or deciding to see which one you're going to want to buy in 2021, and these two phones running on iOS 14. In this video, we're going to break down the hardware, the software, overall performance, and try to conclude why you might buy one versus the another. Before we go ahead and get started, if you guys are new to the channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaways, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys are in the market for either of these devices or any of the newer iPhones at a discounted price, make sure you guys check out the link in the description section. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the review video for you guys. So between these two devices, of course, there's a lot of things that have changed. The iPhone 7 Plus here, as you can see, we have the black edition of it, which was released in 2016 around the annual Apple release date, around your September, October timeframe when Apple releases flagship phones. The iPhone SE here was released in 2020 of April, which is a little bit surprising because Apple doesn't release the phone around the mid-year. So it was released in April of 2020, which was 6 months after the iPhone 11 lineup. And the other interesting fact about the iPhone SE here, that it started at a $399 price tag, and Apple reduced the price of the phones a little bit compared to the $600 and above. Of course, the iPhone 10 lineup, as you know now, starts at almost $1,000 of the Pro models. And that's what was kind of shocking. The one other interesting thing about the iPhone SE was when Apple released it, it mentioned that it has the fastest smart chip on any smartphone out there, which is a big claim for Apple, and all of that we're going to explain a little bit in the video. And let's talk about the build of these two phones. As you'll notice, between these two phones, they have varying builds of it. Of course, they look very similar because of their size and build of it, but they are actually made out of different material. The iPhone SE here made out of aerospace grade aluminum. Here it has both front and back being glass, which allows it to be wirelessly charged because of that glass back. Unlike that, the iPhone 7 here, it's made out of aluminum back on here, and the front, of course, is glass. Unfortunately, it cannot do wireless charging because the back is not glass here. And you'll see it noticeable between these two phones, they have similar body build. And the other thing about these two phones is that they weigh around the same weight. So both of the phones feel about the same in your hand. That 4.7 display, not much of an upgrade from the iPhone 6 in terms of the size wise. But the one thing about the iPhone 7 Plus is that it does have a plus size, which the iPhone SE 2nd edition doesn't. Although Apple is rumored to possibly release a plus version of the SE. Until they do that, these two phones are pretty good in terms of their comparison of it. And talking about the comparison of these two phones is their battery life on these two phones is another similarities besides the body. Both of the phones give you about 13 hours of video playback between these two devices. And talking about the hardware on these two phones is that they have slightly very different chipset on it. Because the iPhone 7 here was released in 2016, it has that A10 Fusion chip, with the iPhone SE, of course, released 4 years later with the fastest smart chip phone on the market, has the A13 Bionic chip, and a lot of that does make a big difference in terms of speed when you're playing games, when you're browsing or looking to do multitasking. A lot of that you need to do on the fly, the iPhone SE here definitely beats the iPhone 7 in those areas, just when we do some of the basic speed tests. And between these two phones, you'll notice that they both have single 12 megapixel camera. And what does that really mean for both of these phones is that the camera on it has very much similar attributes to it. Of course, the iPhone SE here does have improved camera because 4 years down the later, Apple has improved a lot of it between these two phones. One thing you'll notice is that both can take regular HDR photos. But then one thing you'll notice between these two phones is the iPhone SE, you can do portrait mode, although it doesn't have that dual camera on it. The iPhone 7 Plus, not the 7 here, does have portrait mode just with one setting, but the iPhone SE here gives you pretty much that portrait mode, which enhances your video experience. Of course, the square features, the features that's not available on the iPhone SE here. So it's sort of a little bit of trade-off if you really like that square mode. And coming to video recording, there's slight differences between the video recording. The iPhone SE goes from 720, which the iPhone 7 goes here as well, all the way up to 4K at 60 frames per second. The iPhone 7 Plus unfortunately goes up to 4K but only has 30 frames per second. So you have only one setting, where the iPhone SE here has an upgraded camera, a lot more going in for the iPhone SE. It also has it has a digital zoom, which the iPhone 7 does not have. So you get about 5 times the digital zoom, which allows you to zoom further and take more autofocus picture, which the iPhone 7 cannot do. And talking about zoom and such, is the next thing we want to talk about is the display between these two phones. As we saw, both of them does have sort of the similar build in terms of display. They have sort of that 4.7 body to it on both of the phones here. We see that across the board on the iPhone base lineup here. They also have about the same sort of resolution to it because of the same display contrast ratio as well. One noticeable difference between these two phones is this new feature Apple added on the display of the iPhone SE here is the True Tone display. As you see here, True Tone, which you'll not find on the iPhone 7. It allows the iPhone to adjust the display based on the ambient lighting condition to make the colors feel more consistent across the board. And the last difference between the display is the iPhone SE here is the haptic touch versus the iPhone 7, which has a 3D touch to it. So haptic versus 3D touch between these two devices. And moving away from the hardware, let's talk about the software build of both of these two phones. As you can see, both of the phones have big icons, as we see here, and the app library, things like that. Because of iOS 14, both of the phones are supported on iOS 14. They run phenomenal for your entertainment and your social media, your gaming. Of course, gaming wise, one thing we mentioned about the gaming is both of them can play pretty much, you can play light games, light graphic games on both of the phones. The iPhone SE, when it comes to heavier graphic games, will beat the iPhone 7 in terms of rendering graphics faster because of that updated chip and a better CPU and more power that comes out of it. So if you're playing bigger games, pretty heavier graphic games that take a lot of memory and the graphic cards on it, the iPhone SE will beat it on the iPhone versus the iPhone 7. And of course, other things for your productivity to your finance, your popular apps, your shopping apps, travel apps, between both of these phones, they do phenomenal job. One thing we're going to mention about these two phones software life is that the iPhone 7 might get iOS 15. It's pretty much end of its life, so we'll be surprised if it doesn't even get iOS 15 update, because it pretty much is coming to the end of life where Apple stopped supporting it because the hardware does not support the software. The iPhone SE here, on the other hand, will be supported for at least another 3 to 4 years, so you got a lot of life going on and you don't have to worry about possibly a phone that is not supported in the next couple years. So let's talk about the other thing about these two phones is the budget friendliness of both of these phones. The iPhone SE here, if you're buying it right now, you can buy a brand new one for around $400, the base 64 gig, which the iPhone SE, if you're buying a brand new one, you probably get it for $150 to $200, almost half the cost of it. But the one thing you notice, if you're buying it pre-owned or even from Amazon or eBay, which we're leaving the link in the description, is that you can probably get the iPhone SE at half the cost, which would be around the same price you're getting it on the iPhone 7 if you bought it new. But the thing about it is, because you get a lot more features and battery life of it, you might be looking at the iPhone SE on it. And lastly, we want to compare why might you buy one or the other. Why might you buy an iPhone 7 in 2021? Well, a couple things here, not very different in terms of it, is that it is a little bit lighter, about 10 grams lighter. It is a little bit narrower if we really look at it. It actually has a little bit bigger battery. It has a 1960 mAh battery versus the iPhone SE here, which has 1821 mAh battery. So almost 100 to 100 and 40-50 mAh difference, but that really doesn't make a difference when you compare video playback, because both of the phones does give you 13 hours of video playback, which if you are a light to medium user, it will get you most of the day. But if you're more on the medium to heavy user, it'll probably get you 3/4 of the day before you need to charge the phones. And why might you get the iPhone SE in 2021? Well, there's a lot more reasons why you might get the iPhone SE. First is it has almost a 34% faster CPU speed, and that's because of the hardware and the chip on it. It has 1 gig more RAM. So iPhone SE here has 3 gigs versus the iPhone 7, which has 2 gigs of internal RAM. So something Apple doesn't discuss, but we took a look into both of these two phones. Of course, because of the upgraded camera, the iPhone SE here has a better video recording quality. It also has a faster download speed compared to the iPhone 7. When you do some speed tests, it does have wireless charging. And the last thing, of course, the iPhone SE will get a lot more software update, longer life to it compared to the iPhone 7. And because the iPhone 7 is coming to end of life, we definitely recommend iPhone SE for a more budget-friendly option out there in 2021. So that's it for the video. We want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about both of these devices, whether you're upgraded from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone SE? What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section. If this video is helpful, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We'll be doing a lot more in the future of these comparisons to break everything down for you guys. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.